FairPlay. This is a new Netflix title. It's one that's actually eligible for Oscar consideration. They picked it up and they have it. I don't think it's going to be an Oscar contender though. But if you're out there trying to watch Oscar movies, this is a really outside shot. But Netflix is probably running a campaign for it. So there you go. It stars Phoebe. I've heard her name pronounced two different ways, which is incredibly frustrating. Phoebe Denier or Phoebe Dinner? Like dinner, like food. I've heard both. And I've heard Denier more, so I'm going to go with that. If it's dinner, I apologize. And it also stars Alden Ehrenreich. So, those are sort of the two big stars of the film and the focus of the feature. It's sort of set in the stock world, but it's also just kind of a relationship drama thriller. It's last week I reviewed a film called Reptile, which the internet had taken to using the term slow burn on. Lots of reviews. Lots of critics. It's a really lazy word that we critics use. I use it too, so it's fine. It's like an excuse that we use for a movie being slow. Like, we know it's long, and we know that you feel the runtime is what we're telegraphing to you is, this movie's a slog, but is it worth it? That's always sort of the question with slow burns is, if you're going to start off one place at sort of one pace, does it build appropriately and does it end on a high note? And with Reptile, I felt like it didn't. Reptile didn't do anything for me. It had some okay performances. I didn't totally hate the film, but FairPlay kind of starts off in one place and ends in a completely different place. And I was like, yes, this is a slow burn. This is exactly what we should be talking about, are films that are like this, that take time, that have to set you up in this one area where you're like, oh, this is boring, nothing interesting is happening. And that's kind of the point, is that at the beginning, the relationship is normal. These two people, Phoebe and Alden, are stuck in a relationship that is absolutely fine. It's not anything. It's not like a rom-com. It's nothing, nobody's being swept off their feet, but they feel like they're in a solid relationship. She's on the phone with her mom, and her mom's like, oh my God, you didn't tell me you got engaged. Oh my God. And there's like an annoying dog barking in the background. And I was like, props to the sound design team for making this phone call happen, because that was the most complicated phone call. She had to be on the phone with her mom, who was talking over the phone, and then they had to have a dog barking in the background. And then like there's one point where the mom calls Phoebe's dad over, and like you can hear him like further in the background. And I was like, this phone call probably took so much effort to put together sound design wise for three things you don't actually see that are just, on a phone. Like for three characters who aren't making a physical appearance in the film. I guess I'm counting the dog as a character. Maybe that's not fair, but it's my channel and I'll do what I want. So yeah, it's that level of attention to detail. But these two, they work for the same company, and they're really not supposed to be dating. Really not. This company frowns upon it. And so they're keeping their relationship a secret, although they've made it all the way to engagement status, without apparently anybody finding out, which is, talk about being boss at keeping things a secret. But they've gotten there. And Alden, who plays Luke, believes that he thinks he's going to get promoted soon. He thinks he's doing good. It's that white male privilege. It's manifest destiny. We get ourselves on boats and we sail ourselves around the world, and when we land there, it's ours. It's just that's what that's what we do. We have this sort of like unaffirmed idea that everything's gonna work out for us. It's gonna be great. It's just gonna. That's what that is. And all the he just is the total manifestation of this experience. Just like unearned privilege. Just like, yeah, I'm amazing. What are you talking about? Why wouldn't I get it? Of course, I'm great. Turns out he's not that great at his job, and his bosses hate him. So, but they do like Phoebe's Emily, something like that. I'm just gonna keep calling her Phoebe though. And she's getting a promotion instead. So, how's this relationship gonna play now? Are they gonna have any more foreplay? Is this gonna lead to more wordplay on my part? Perhaps. This is the part they play in this film, so I guess we're gonna have to play with these words a little bit. It's all fair play here. I don't know. I lost my track there. I wanted to get some of those in there at some point, and I felt like that was the right spot. So yeah, the tables turn, and it becomes a film about that struggle for who has to have the power in a relationship, who has to be the breadwinner. When you have two people who both want to be breadwinners and they're on even ground, it's okay. They're able to date, and they're able to get takeout together and have sex and think about a future together. But the minute that changes and the wrong one gets promoted and the other one is completely butthurt about it, things start spiraling out. Alden starts researching like how to reset his narrative. He like turns to self-help gurus and books and stuff. It's kind of silly and ridiculous, but he believes that, he's like, I don't understand what went wrong. He's like, what? I don't know, dude, be better at your job. But so then the film just kind of progressively gets more and more out of hand. Phoebe gets more and more entrenched with the other higher ups, and learns that they really just don't think Alden is good at his job. When he's hanging on by a thread. They didn't even realize that until she sort of gets in the room where it happens and starts finding out how much her boss does not like Alden. She tries telling him, but he's like unwilling to hear it, and then their relationship just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And that is what this movie is about, and that is why the slow burn works, is because it builds, is because it actually slowly burns into something, and then before you know it, you've got yourself a fire. And that is a slow burn. The other film was not a slow burn. The other film was just slow. The other film was just long and poorly paced. FairPlay, at the beginning of it, you'll be like, oh my god, this is slow. This is one of the reasons why I can't be like, hey, it's the best film of the year. Because it is true. That's the gamble you take in a slow burn. But by the end, it's like, how much does the payoff work for you? And for me, pretty well. I did by the end of the film, I liked it more than I did at the beginning of the film. The film has some very uncomfortable stuff to watch. Towards the end, the film is full of sex scenes and this Are they turned on by these weird power dynamics? Maybe. It's just a lot of things. This film is very much about the evolution of this relationship and these two people. It's mainly Phoebe is very much the lead. However, the amount of screen time these two characters have versus literally anyone else in the film is dramatically different. There's like a huge drop between these two and like the third highest person in the film. Whoever would have third billing. It's just like way different than that. So it's basically Phoebe and Alden's film. And some stuff happens, and I'm not a big fan of Alden Ehrenreich as an actor. This film kind of was a good casting for him because you're not, I don't know that you're really supposed to be a big fan of Luke's. You're supposed to start seeing the problems with Luke as Phoebe sees them, I think. The problems that occur when the power dynamic shifts, and she finds out that her boyfriend is maybe not the guy who she thought he was, and he needs a little bit more of that control than she assumed he needed. He can't just be happy for her. He's not set in that way. And yeah, it does get interesting. I don't want to spoil some stuff that happens later in the film, but I would say this film is a difficult watch. Some people will probably be triggered by some stuff that happens in the third act. So watch this with caution. God, if I say stuff, it's going to spoil the film, so I can't. The best I can allude to is that the film plays with themes about the relationship, not just a power dynamic, not just who has the power and who has the struggle, and whether or not somebody needs to be the breadwinner of the relationship, but also with the idea of consent, even within a relationship. When do you have it? And is it okay to continue when you don't? And it's we know the answer to that question, but it really does put that into a really stark perspective in a very specific scene in this film. So and uses that to sort of catalyst finish the film. For a director that has done mostly television, and a lot of television shows I've watched that I've thought have been actually pretty well directed. She's done like Billions, which I think is pretty consistently well directed. So I don't know, what episodes she did, but I think that the film is it's a promising start. It's not something I'm not going to be like, jumping out of my chair to see the next film, but I'm also not going to be like, I don't want to see her ever direct again. I'd be interested to see what she has to say with her next film. It's going to be more than this, but this film really isn't going to go anywhere. It's got some interesting ideas. I just don't see this catching on. I just don't see this really lighting up Oscar season. I think the performances are fine, but I can't imagine that anybody who's going to look at either of these performances and say these are among the top 5 performances of the year. I'm less familiar with Phoebe Dinner than I am with Alden, and this is a film that very much made me pay attention to her as an actress, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more of her in the future. I think she does some really solid work in this film, and I think it's a nice solid entry from Netflix. There's nothing really wrong with it. It isn't going to be their top film of the year. It's not going to be their Oscar push film. This isn't going to sneak into Best Picture. This isn't going to win any awards. It's just going to be one of their they like to really pick up a lot of films that they can aim at Oscar and throw a lot of things at the wall and see what sticks. And only sometimes a couple of them stick, and then some of them, like FairPlay, just kind of get like caught up in the buzz of Oscar season, and maybe they get a few more views than they normally would have. So that's it. The audio description here was mostly well captivated in the few moments of violence, I would say, as well as the sex scenes, which I'm sure had to at least have been uncomfortable to have to narrate. I can't imagine what some of these scenes were like to have to try to figure out how to write them. And then also when you're narrating, you're like, what am I narrating here? Oh God. You know, just, this is definitely a film that used intimacy coordinators. So yeah, it's very much a sexual thriller. If this film was made years ago, Michael Douglas probably would have been in this. Since he did all that Fatal Attraction, Basic Instinct, disclosure stuff, he would have ended up in FairPlay. This would have been offered to him. But it'd been like, who's right for this film? Michael Douglas. Give it to him. Yeah, so that's the kind of vibe you can expect from the film. But it's a much better slow burn than Netflix is offering last week, Reptile, which just didn't really do much for me. So that's it. That's how I feel about FairPlay. So I'm going to give FairPlay a B-. It's perhaps maybe a little too long, a little too front-loaded. It also spends a lot of time talking about things that I was having a really hard time following. Like, it really gets into the whole culture of this financial trading world, but there doesn't seem to be like a really cohesive plot as to what it is that they're going after or what trade they're looking into. So it all just seems like you're watching people like mumble a whole bunch of jargon just to do it, just to like get you involved, just to be like, yeah, doesn't this feel realistic to you? I mean, I guess it's just not really that interesting if I can't follow it, if I don't know what's happening. So I would have appreciated a little bit more in that regard as well, but look at what we get. So once you break the halfway point of the film, though, you should feel like a completely different shift in the film, and it's interesting. I gotta give that props. So anyway, that's it. Thanks for watching. Please click that subscribe button. I'm trying to break 200 this year. I totally believe I can do it. So hopefully you like this review and click subscribe. Also click like. And I have a website, MacMovieGuy.com. You can go to Twitter, Instagram, or Threads and follow me at MacMovieGuy. You can go to the audio description project, adb.acb.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and television series. And you can go to the ADNA.org. That's the ADNA.org. It'll let you know who's narrating your favorite films and television series. One tells you where things are, and one tells you who's doing them. There you go. All right, that's it for me today. I'll watch something else and review it, and see you guys on the other side.